You've just heard of mechanical keyboards, thought they'd be great, and now you're looking to purchase your first one. But there's so many out there and so many things you need to consider, like size, switch type, and all the features it has. So which one do you actually choose? Hey everyone, it's Shane, and in today's video I'll be breaking down the 4 most important things you want to consider to be able to find the perfect keyboard for your needs and to get the most value out of it. Firstly, the most important thing is the switch type. This is the whole reason most people get a mechanical keyboard in the first place. There are probably 3 main switches you want to be choosing from when you are starting off. These are the clicky blue switches, tactile brown switches, and linear red switches. Which one you should get depends on what you're using your keyboard for. Blue switches are the best for productivity and typing. They are also the loudest of the bunch. They are the most clicky switch, hence their name, and they also have the strongest response to a click. These are the ones I use to write my assignments and also write my YouTube scripts, for example for this video. Red switches are the best for gaming purposes. They are the most quiet of the 3 and also go down the easiest when you press down on them, which allows you to have marginally quicker response times. However, they are not great for typing due to the lack of response you get when you are pressing down on the keys, and it can be very hard to get used to. Browns are like the all-round switch and sit somewhere in between the reds and the blues. They don't have the clicky switch sound that the blues do, but instead of just going down right away, they have a tactile bump, which means when you press down on it, you can feel something. Given their kind of versatility, this is why they're a popular switch when starting off with mechanical keyboards. The next consideration is going to be the size of the actual keyboard. The trade-off here is the smaller it is, the more portable it is, and the less physical space it actually takes up on your desk. It is also more ergonomic, as on your desk it allows you to put your mouse hand and your keyboard hand closer together, making it feel better and more comfortable. However, as a consequence, you do end up having to sacrifice a few keys, which may end up being important to you. The main things you'll be needing to consider is, do you actually need the full-size number pad? And then after that, do you need the arrow keys and the function keys and the delete key? So let's start with the largest size and go down from there. Unless you're doing data entry or frequently need to type in patterns of numbers constantly on your keyboard, in which case you would either get the full-size keyboard, which has a number pad, or the compact 1800, which puts everything closer together, even a more compact format. Then you can probably sacrifice this number pad and go with a smaller version, either the TKL or 80% keyboard. Even though I worked in a role before where I learned how to type numbers quickly and efficiently using the number pad, and it's something I really enjoyed doing and being able to do quickly, I realized typing phone numbers or my credit card details wasn't something I did on a common day-to-day basis. And I didn't really need them that often, so in the end it was something I decided was worth dropping. If you do want the arrow keys and the function keys, then the 10 keyless TKL, or the 80% keyboard, which is a slightly smaller and more compact version of the TKL keyboard, as you see here, is probably your go-to option. These are the sizes that I personally am most comfortable with, as I need to use the arrow keys when video editing for shortcuts, as well as when using Microsoft Excel. However, if you don't really need these keys that often, then you can probably get away with going something even smaller. Up to the minimum size I recommend is the 60% keyboard, as you see here. Here you would lose the dedicated arrow keys and function key, but it doesn't mean that you don't have them. It just means that to use them, you will need to press function and another key at the same time to give you the equivalent of an arrow key press. This is the same for the function keys, where I need to press FN and the respective number at the same time. Most keyboards, for example the Kemove 61 featured here, have the alternate keys printed under the other keys or on the front side of the keycaps, so it's easier to figure out which one you need to press to access the key. If you are using the keyboard primarily for gaming and don't really need the keys I mentioned above, then the 60% keyboards are probably the best option for you, as you get all the upsides of the portability, compact size, and all the ergonomic effects without really much of a downside. This type of keyboard allows you to keep your hands closer together when you are gaming for a more comfortable feel when you are sitting down at your computer. The next thing you want to consider is connectivity. There are 3 modes of connectivity and not all keyboards out there will offer all of them. So you want to make sure that the keyboard you end up getting has the connectivity mode that you are looking for. Firstly, there's the wired connection, which means you have a cable, most likely USB-C, that you connect from your keyboard directly to either your computer or a docking station that connects to your computer. You'd probably choose this if you wanted the most reliable connection and the low latency for gaming purposes, as it offers the fastest speed and gives that tiny edge when you are gaming. Then the second option is a Bluetooth connection. You can easily set up Bluetooth connection the first time you use a device, and after that it's very straightforward. All you need to do is turn it on and it should connect automatically. A Bluetooth connection also runs smoothly and quite quickly, but not as much as the first option, which was the wired connection. It will also require you, since it is using battery, to charge the keyboard every now and then. Exactly how often you need to charge it depends firstly on the size of the battery of the keyboard. For example, the Kemove 61 battery is relatively large at 3800, I believe, and will last quite a long time. And the second thing that affects how often you need to charge it is whether you are using RGB lighting, which takes a big drain on the battery's resources. Most often though, it will be from a few weeks to a month or so that you need to charge it. However, on the bright side, it will make your desk look a lot cleaner and more minimal, as there's no single fat wire running on the top of your desk from your keyboard to wherever your computer is. The last connectivity type I'll talk about is the wireless dongle. This is a wireless USB port connection to your computer, and for example, it is one of the main reasons that I like the RK81. However, on the downside, at least for the RK81 in my case, this connection hasn't been perfectly reliable. What I mean by this, if your keyboard is too far away from your actual computer, more than 1.5 meters, then it's kind of out of range and the keyboard no longer becomes usable as many key clicks do not register. However, if you are close to the computer, there should generally be not too many problems, and in my experience using it close to my computer, I haven't found many issues at all. Occasionally, once or twice a key might not register, but overall it hasn't really impacted my typing ability. So for that reason, I would probably actually recommend one of the earlier options, whether that be the wired connection or the Bluetooth connection. However, for me, even though I could have the option of using Bluetooth connectivity to reduce the number of wires on my desk, what I needed was a connection right away the moment I powered on the computer, as I would sometimes need to switch between Windows operating system and Ubuntu, which means I would constantly need to go into BIOS, and the keyboard was the one that enabled me to do so. This wouldn't be possible with Bluetooth, so I needed the wireless dongle option. This allows me to have no issues switching between Windows and Ubuntu, and it also means I can keep the same clean minimalist look to my desk. The fourth consideration is definitely going to be the actual price of the keyboard. Mechanical keyboards can get very expensive, but there are still a lot of good budget options out there. Some of these were actually featured in today's video, for example the RK84 or the Kemove 61. However, there are definitely a lot more options to choose from in the market out there. I just want to put a quick disclaimer out there that no keyboard brand actually paid me to make this video or promote them. Royal Kludge and Kemove just reached out to me and asked me if I wanted to have a go and try out seeing what it was like using one of their keyboards. These are what I would classify as budget keyboards, and you can easily find them for under $100 USD, and they do offer most of the value you would generally want from a mechanical keyboard. The main downsides would most likely be the build quality. The keycaps and switches might not feel the most premium, and they most likely will not use the best quality Cherry MX switches. Some of the keys might feel a little inconsistent, but overall I haven't really found much of an issue with it, and I've tried them out for a while and I can type on them fine on a day-to-day basis without much notice. However, the more you pay, the more likely you are to find slightly higher quality switches, for example the OG Cherry MX switches. And further up, you'll also get higher premium quality materials such as double shot PBT instead of ABS plastic, which will last even longer, but even then ABS isn't really that bad, and I really haven't noticed much of a difference. Also, you're more likely to find things such as aluminium frames, rather than the plastic ones. And then the even more serious hardcore people will go on to mod their keyboards by swapping out switches, lubing them to make the performance even that marginally better. But as a beginner, I don't think it's really necessary to worry about that just yet. And those can easily cost up to more than $500 for a single keyboard. While those are the 4 main things you want to consider, there are also a few smaller things such as features like whether the keyboard has RGB lighting if you're really into that stuff, as well as whether it's customizable, like are the keys hot swappable, as you can swap out the keys later on without having to resolder everything, and also things like how high the keys rest above the desk, as if the keys are too high like some of the Keychron ones, you might end up feeling a little bit of pain in your wrist when using them for a while. Hopefully that information gave you some insight into how to find the best mechanical keyboard for your needs. This is just an introductory video on the most important things you want to know, and I definitely try to keep it brief so you don't get overwhelmed, especially if you are new. If you learned something or enjoyed this video, then make sure to give it a big like down below and subscribe to this channel to not miss out on my future content where I share tips on studying tech and university life. As always, take care and I hope to see you guys in the next video.